At Attention Different, we are extremely passionate about giving ADHD adults all the tools and techniques that they need to thrive throughout their lives. But first, we need to talk about understanding adult ADHD symptoms. This is an introduction. For years, ADHD was perceived as a childhood disorder, something one could grow out of. However, research indicates that 60 to 80% of children diagnosed with ADHD continue to experience symptoms into adulthood. Now let's be clear, ADHD doesn't disappear, it doesn't go away. It's a lifelong developmental disorder. While treatment can mitigate symptoms to manageable levels, it doesn't cure ADHD. If someone claims they no longer have ADHD, they were likely misdiagnosed or have learned to manage their symptoms exceptionally well. You may have heard coping mechanisms. ADHD manifests in three main types or presentations as defined by the DSM-5: hyperactive impulsive, inattentive, and combined type. As individuals with ADHD grow older, especially through puberty, the physical manifestations of hyperactivity often decrease, and those external symptoms manifest into general restlessness and an overactive stream of thoughts, and we have a hard time turning them off. That said, exceptions exist. Some adults remain hyperactive, while others may display immaturity. Executive functioning continues to develop until around the age of 25, and for ADHD adults, this development may lag 3 to 5 years behind their peers. So their brains continue to mature until their late 20s or even early 30s. Adults with ADHD often adapt by learning what is socially acceptable and adjusting to professional standards. This adaptation can involve masking their symptoms to fit in. The DSM-5 and ICD-10 are the primary diagnostic manuals used to diagnose ADHD, but they're written with a child-oriented focus. For example, the criterion "often has difficulty awaiting turn" might translate to an adult's frustration with long lines or traffic. On to symptoms and executive functioning challenges. The following list includes persistent symptoms and executive functioning challenges which are absent from diagnostic criteria. Emotional dysregulation. ADHD adults are prone to emotional reactivity. Sensitivity to criticism. We can be overly defensive or emotionally flooded by negative feedback. Planning difficulties. We struggle with planning events, vacations, or dates. Working memory issues. Forgetting grocery lists, to-dos, even names. Task prioritization. We often experience difficulty deciding what to do and when. Or follow-through problems. We start multiple projects, but rarely finish them. People pleasing. We are known to overcommit to avoid rejection or disappoint others. Sustaining focus. We experience trouble focusing on multi-step tasks. Interrupting conversations. We finish other sentences to avoid forgetting our own points. Procrastination and avoidance. Ever put off tasks until the last minute? Time blindness. We lose track of time, especially during hyperfocus or a flow state. Routine establishment. I experience difficulty maintaining age-appropriate routines, even to this day. Perfectionism. We can overcompensate for perceived carelessness, leading to task avoidance. Motivation issues. I struggle to start and persist through tasks. Dopamine chasing. We often engage in risky behaviors for that dopamine hit. Impulsivity. We often act without considering the consequences fully. Social anxiety and depression. These are secondary mood disorders that follow due to poor coping skills. Ruminative thinking. We often experience persistent negative self-talk and racing thoughts. Hyperfocus. We can get engrossed in tasks at the expense of other basic needs. Fidgeting. Tapping feet, fiddling with objects. Ever heard of a fidget spinner? Boredom. We often experience difficulty engaging in long periods of concentration. Distractibility. We zone out during conversations or we get easily sidetracked. Impulsive spending. Boy howdy. Often we experience difficulty maintaining a budget due to impulsive purchases. The concept of mirror traits. Dr. Edward Ned Hallowell introduced the concept of mirror traits where the negative aspects of ADHD can be seen in a positive light. We're gonna list a bunch. Hyperactive becomes energetic. Distractible becomes curious. Impulsive becomes spontaneous and risk-taking. Careless becomes resilient and gritty. Moody becomes sensitive. Forgetful becomes selective memory, remembering important long-term details very well. Disorganized becomes eclectic. Inconsistent becomes persistent. Stubborn becomes resilient and gritty. Dislikes criticism becomes eager to please. Procrastinates becomes cares deeply and perfectionist. Scattered becomes out-of-the-box thinker. Disruptive becomes problem solver and innovative. Easily bored becomes good in a crisis. Daydreams become creative. Reactive becomes responsive and quick to respond. Poor self-regulation becomes hyper-focused and immersed. Poor sense of time becomes fully present. Intense becomes enthusiastic. Lazy and unmotivated becomes highly motivated in interest areas. Discouraged becomes dedicated. Overshares becomes storyteller. Lacks attention to details becomes big picture thinker. Now moving on to the impact on daily life. Adults with ADHD face numerous challenges. Higher risk of car accidents. Actually, research by Russell Barkley highlights increased accident rates amongst adults with ADHD. Educational attainment. 25 to 40% of adults with ADHD haven't completed high school compared to 10% in the general population. This one gets me. Only 5 to 10% complete college versus 30% of the general population. When it comes to employment, ADHDers experience higher unemployment rates and underemployment. When it comes to relationship outcomes, double the divorce rate and more conflicts in social relationships. Financial difficulties, twice as likely to have poor credit and 4 times more likely to have multiple bankruptcies. Substance abuse, 15 to 25% lifetime prevalence of substance use disorders compared to 5 to 10% in the general population. Other mental health issues. We have a high co-occurring condition rate with anxiety and depressive disorders. And criminal behavior. ADHDers have an overrepresentation in the criminal justice system, with 25 to 45% of incarcerated adults potentially having ADHD. All right, enough of the scary stuff. Let's get to misconceptions and realities. The stereotype of ADHD as a disorder of hyperactive boys is outdated. ADHD persists into adulthood and evolves over the lifespan. A hyperactive boy may grow into a restless, inattentive adult. This complexity contributes to misunderstandings and denial about ADHD's existence. While societal trends toward instant gratification can mimic ADHD-like symptoms, surely they can, they do not cause the disorder and they are not the disorder. Some takeaways. Seek professional help. If you or someone you know relates to any of the ADHD symptoms that we just listed, we encourage you to reach out to a licensed medical professional, adult psychiatrist, or therapist to explore treatment options. Perception and belief. Hopefully, you have learned that how we internalize the presentations of adult ADHD impacts our perception of what we are capable of. If you believe you can achieve something, you're more likely to put effort into doing so. And likewise, if you have a self-limiting belief that you can't achieve something, that belief prevents you from even trying. Attention regulation. You do not have a deficit in attention. You have overactive attention with struggles in certain contexts with regulating, redirecting, and sustaining attention on boring, tedious, and uninteresting tasks. Understanding adult ADHD requires acknowledging its persistence and varied presentations. It's a complex condition that significantly impacts daily life, but with proper treatment and strategies, individuals can manage their symptoms and lead fulfilling lives. Remember, ADHD doesn't go away. It's a part of the developmental journey. For those navigating this path, knowledge, support, and adaptive strategies are key to thriving despite the challenges. All right, this is the end of our episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that none of this was too triggering or exhausting or depressing or scary, because honestly, we are so thrilled that you're here at the Attention Different Labs. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Together, we can create a supportive community for those with ADHD. Breathe. You got this.